Hello everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your astrologer today. Happy Sunday, everyone. I hope your weekend is going well so far. This is going to be the astro weather for the week of September 17th through the 24th, 2023. Do me a favor and make sure you're subscribed. Click the bell button below so you're alerted as to when we have new videos coming out on the channel. Drop me a comment below and say hello. Let me know how you're feeling with these energies. And do please give me a thumbs up. Any interaction with the channel really helps the algorithm. Consider joining my memberships or for one of my lives if you want to support more of my work. All right, guys, so new season, new you. We're going to be having the ingress of the sun into Libra. This is all going to be about finding the balance, restoring the balance in all of our lives. And here in the Northern Hemisphere, this is going to be the fall equinox, the beginning of our fall season. Those of you guys in the Southern, happy spring. So I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the equinox today, just to get started, because this is a very big energy. It's kind of like hitting the restart button. We're not only going to look at the transits for the next week, but we're also going to take a look at the ingress chart. And I want to talk to you guys a little bit about what that particular ingress says about the next 3 months of the year. Now, the fall equinox in general is also known as the autumn equinox. Typically, this sets up right around the 21st of September to the 23rd in the Northern Hemisphere. It marks the moment when the night and the day are nearly equal in length, when the balance is at its tipping point towards longer nights as we transition from summer to fall. Now, the spiritual significance of the equinox varies across different cultures and spiritual traditions, but there's a few common themes that we see, and you'll probably see them play out over this next week. Number one, meaning the harvest and gratitude. So it's a lot of like re-evaluating what we've been building towards and having appreciation for how far we've come. Here in the Northern Hemisphere, this is our harvest season, and the crops are gathered and fruits of the earth are celebrated. So it's a time of gratitude and abundance provided by nature. Many spiritual practices include rituals focusing on expressing thanks for the earth's gifts, acknowledging interconnectedness of all living beings. This also brings up the theme of Libra and the scales. So balance and harmony are a huge focus. The equinoxes bring both, for both spring and fall, are symbolic of balance and harmony. The day and the night are in equilibrium, reminding us that it is important in finding the balance in our own lives. So it's a perfect time to reflect on where we may be out of balance throughout this next week and seek ways to restore harmony in our physical, emotional, and spiritual lives. It is a time of transition and change for many reasons, more importantly because this is ushering in this new cardinal energy, but we're also going to start be feeling the effects of the incoming eclipse season, which will be taking place in this next month. The transition can be seen as a metaphor for the changes and transitions in our own lives. The fall equinox encourages us to embrace change gracefully and let go of what no longer serves us, much like trees shedding their leaves. Now, this is going to be a real big theme as we see a solar eclipse coming in mid-next month in the sign of Libra, very close to the South Node. We're going to see quite a few planets dancing on the South Node, revolving around that particular eclipse. So we're definitely in a season of change. This gives us all the opportunity also to reflect and think about what we're willing to release. As the days are growing shorter, nature's preparing for winter's rest. And during the fall equinox, it's a time for introspection and release. It's an opportunity to reflect on this last year and acknowledge what we've achieved, release any burdens, regrets, or negativity that we carry with us. And this can be seen as a really powerful time for inner cleansing for the coming season, and also a little bit of much needed rest and introspection. We have opportunities to connect with our ancestry. Many cultures and spiritual traditions see the fall equinox associated with ancestral reverence and remembrance. It's a time to honor and connect with our ancestors, seeking their wisdom and their guidance. Ancestor altars and rituals are also amazing to be working with during this time. So if you're somebody who likes to kind of do that work, connect with the other side, or maybe just tap into your inner kind of like witchy self as you're decorating and getting ready for the fall, it's a good time to do that. And then finally, obviously, renewal and rebirth. That's a huge theme that we see with the equinox as it marks the beginning of autumn and the approach of winter, but it also contains the seeds of rebirth energy. The energy of the earth begins to turn inward, preparing for regeneration that will occur later in the spring of 2024. And this cycle of renewal encourages us to rest, rejuvenate, prepare for our own personal growth and transformation. Now, in particular, when we see the equinox taking place, we're going to see the sun transition into the sign of Libra. This is one of the 4 cardinal signs. This is also known as one of the cardinal points. And it's a critical degree. 0 degrees of the cardinal signs are very critical because they are the marker points of these new seasons. So Libra points to the beginning of autumn, obviously, but also it symbolizes the balance between relationships and harmony. Planets near this point can influence how an individual interacts with others, seeks balance, and navigates partnerships. So as the sun goes through Libra over the next few weeks, we're really going to be focusing on these topics. Now, what's really interesting about this particular, like when we look at the chart, we're going to see that there is some stress actually between the sun and the moon. We're going to see the moon in Capricorn and the sun is going to be in Libra. And that for me is really interesting. It's telling. It basically says for 3 months' time, we're going to see that there's this pressure and this need to change because we're going to see both the sun and the moon in conflict with each other. Let me just show it to you guys. You can see it. So that way, if you guys are more visual, it's going to make better sense. All right, so let's take it to... All right, it's going to be very early in the morning. Here we go. And this will be on September 23rd. So when we see the ingress of the sun, this is the moment that the equinox is going to begin. The moon is in Capricorn. Okay, so we can actually look at this as an ingress chart. We can assess this and we'll take a look at some of the aspects to get an idea of what we're going to be experiencing really all the way up until we get to the fall solstice, which will, the winter solstice, which will be taking place in December. And we can kind of see what's going on with the sun and the moon, and they're within like a 6-degree focus of a square. So there's friction, right? Because they're kind of running into each other within that hard angle. For me, this can mean just out in the world, or the experience that we're going to have throughout this season is that there is a focus on harmony and ambition, right? So Libra wants harmony, it wants balance. The moon in Capricorn wants to be ambitious. It wants to focus on its goals or what it's doing out in the world professionally. So Libras are known for their focus and their balance, right? Harmony and relationships. There's a huge focus when the sun is in Libra on the value of fairness, cooperation, and seeking to create harmonious environments. This is a very social sign, and it's known to be charming, diplomatic in their actions. Now, it's interesting to see the sun moving through Libra. It is debilitated because generally we like to see the sun in Leo or in Aries. So when it falls into the opposing signs, it kind of is working with like a funky energy. The sun, which represents ego, right? Identity, core identity, is falling into a sign of other people. So it's like, in a way, checking in with somebody else. The season also starts with a debilitated Mars. So we've got both Mars and the sun in Libra. And these planets are going to be making their way up towards a conjunction with the South Node. So this is like this karmic portal of relationship clearing, dealing with karma, dealing with the past, reassessing relationships, what's working, what's not. But also we're going to hear a lot about justice. We're going to hear a lot about the justice system, a lot about the courts. We're going to see a lot of action revolving around these topics. But with the moon in Capricorn, obviously this is debilitated as well. We see the moon moving through a Saturn-based sign. And Capricorn moon placements are known for ambition, being very practical, being very goal-oriented. There is a natural sense of responsibility, and they are driven when it comes to achieving success and recognition. So there can be a tendency to be emotionally focused on discipline and being really kind of method-based when it comes to getting things done. And this hard angle between the two basically represents some kind of tension between socializing and also what we need to be doing to be productive out in the world and in our career. Now with Capricorn moon in general, there's also this theme of a deep need for achievement and recognition, and a lot of motivation to be able to kind of get where they need to go when it comes to their emotions and their wellness, their emotional wellness. Now, generally speaking, when we look at the moon in astrology, it can represent the collective. So this is like what's going on with like the people. So we could look at this as between now and the second half of December as well. There's a lot of action in relationships, and The themes that are going on with action and relationships are kind of disharmonizing the connection to the moon. So we've got a lot of things kind of working against us with this particular angle with these planets and these signs. It can also indicate that emotionally we're going to be very focused on what's going on out in government, right? What's going on when it comes to people in power, to rulers, to political figures. And a lot of us are also going to be really focusing on our jobs, right? Emotionally feeling the burden, Capricorn, of having to show up and do the day in, day out kind of grind. Now, I think that the Sun in Libra is putting a real focus on where individuals are more so inclined to forming relationships, maintaining strong connections with other people. We're looking at our value in partnerships and trying to find ways to work through conflict and find harmony in partnerships. So it's not all bad. There's a lot of action here that's encouraging us to be able to work together. Thus the whole theme of this particular equinox and finding the balance between ourselves and other people. Likely we're going to be seeing over the next couple of months, we're having to kind of tweak things to see what is and is not working when it comes to our relationships and our public status. Now, this Capricorn moon up here is also very reserved. It can be cautious in expressing its feelings. There can be a really kind of cool exterior when it comes to that particular moon, and being more reserved and almost like fearless when it comes to working through difficult situations. So a lot of people may actually benefit with this square and look at it and go, okay, we've got some difficult territory to kind of work through. How can we better work together to be able to achieve the desired goal? This will bring opportunities for strong work ethic. I think this combination is going to bring opportunities to work diligently towards our pursuits, being willing to put in the necessary effort to achieve our goals, especially when it comes to our careers or our relationships. The only challenge is that there can be a sense of wanting to seek balance and harmony too much with that Sun in Libra. And because the Capricorn moon is very practical and goal-oriented, I kind of see this as like a tug of war where some people are going to have some conflicts revolving around making changes in their relationships, South Node Libra, and the actual effects or the impacts that that might have with their reputation, with their bosses, with, you know, making changes with clients, making changes with who you're working for. And there can be this sense, because Libra can really care about their reputation, of being like, well, what are people going to say? So many people are going to feel a little conflicted about making some changes in relationships at this time because of how it may be coming across out in the world. Nevertheless, both of these signs are very much active. They're very focused on their public image, their reputation. I think that there is a message in this that's saying that we need to be mindful of how we're being perceived by other people and to keep working diligently to really focus on being a leader out in the world and being a role model for other people in how to be better in relationships, and also step forward and take responsibility when it comes to our responsibilities to society. Now, when I looked at this chart, two really prominent goddesses came up for me. One is Athena and one is Vesta. So we've got Vesta down here in the sign of Cancer. We've got Athena that's conjunct the Sun in Libra, and right when the equinox actually happens around 2:04 a.m. This is Central Time, so it's going to be just after midnight on September 23rd Pacific. It's going to be closer to 3:04 a.m. Eastern Time. Obviously, I know you guys are in different time zones. We see a pretty significant T-square involving the Sun, the Moon, and also these goddesses. So the Sun's ingress into Libra kind of creates this focal point between the Capricorn moon, Vesta and Cancer, and that conjunction to Pallas. And when the Sun and Athena are in conjunction in Libra, it suggests a number of things. One is wisdom, right? Athena is associated with wisdom and identity. That's the Sun. So there is this theme of having a strong connection between our core identity and our wisdom and knowledge-seeking tendencies. This is going to indicate a period of time where our sense of self is closely tied to our intellect and pursuit of wisdom. So the Sun conjunct Athena is also talking about patterns in relationship. What patterns are we noticing in relationships? What kind of relationship patterns are we continuing? What is and is not working within these relationships? And how can we strategize, right? Athena was known as the goddess of strategy, and war? How can we find opportunities for peace, to be able to kind of better work together and find the balance between career responsibilities and emotions and home? Now, diplomacy is another theme that we see with both Libra as well as Athena. I think Libra's influence adds a more diplomatic and strategic dimension to the next couple of months. It gives us the opportunity to focus on our skills at handling relationships and situation with more grace and tact. So likely we'll have the ability to see multiple perspectives and make well-balanced decisions. So it's not just arguing, it's not waiting to talk, it's learning to try to better understand other people's perspective, which I think is really important with the Sun in Libra. I think it's teaching us that two can be much stronger than one. And I think that it's going to be interesting to see that square to the moon, because there's going to be this constant like, how do we emotionally relate to each other? And, you know, the working through kind of like the sludge of the responsibilities and relationships. And for some of us, it might be coming to terms with realizing that certain relationships aren't working for us. I'm going to keep reiterating that both Mars as well as the Sun will eventually come into contact with the South Node. So it might kind of suggest that this entire season over the next few months, there's a lot of like, okay, if this isn't working, is it time to part ways? Is this relationship out of balance? And like, how is this going to be affecting us in the long term, right? Moon in Capricorn. Likely, there's also going to be opportunities for lots of intellectual pursuits. I think part of it is because of Athena's conjunction to the Sun. So this is about intellectual pursuits and the desire to gain knowledge. This particular combination is really amazing at exploring various subjects as well as problem solving. This is a really strong time to be focusing on partnerships of all kinds, not just romantic relationships. The 7th house can be your astrologer, it can be counselors, it can be therapists, and other people who can kind of like advise you. So if you're looking for support and somebody who can kind of observe what's going wrong in your relationships, a relationship counselor can be really helpful. You can also bring somebody in to kind of like better direct you when it comes to your public image or when it comes to your style. It'd be that's going to be a very busy time for divorce attorneys, unfortunately. Unfortunately, if you are one. And we're going to see lots of opportunity for aid to come in general. So if you're needing assistance, you might be able to find somebody who has the capabilities of being able to kind of put the little pieces together and better advise you. There's definitely going to be a huge focus on justice. I think part of this is because the South Node is in Libra and it's going to be there for the better part of the next year and a half. Incoming solar eclipse as well. But you know, Libra's emphasis on fairness and Athena's association with wisdom, we're going to be finding that a lot of people are going to be more interested in particular in issues relating to justice, ethics, and morality. Likely, some of us might be feeling a sense of responsibility to promote fairness and truth in our interactions with other people. Creative expression is a huge theme because Venus is associated with Libra as well as the arts. And aesthetics as well. So I think the conjunction between the two is going to give us the opportunity to focus on creative expression as a tie to our identity and the pursuit of wisdom. Creative outlets are going to be really helpful, especially if you're into artistic type of hobbies, as a mean to better express your unique self. And in particular with the aspect to Vesta, because we have the Sun in a square to Vesta, they are kind of in friction to one another, very similar to the friction with the Sun and the Moon. Vesta in Cancer is an asteroid that is really emphasizing themes relating to home, family, emotional security, and domestic life. If you have a natal Vesta in Cancer or in the 4th house, it's about having a strong dedication to family and a desire to connect to your nurturing and protective environment. So Vesta, right, the Vesta virgins, you know, keeping the home fire burning, keeping the flame alive. This is about your dedication to seeing that something is like, yeah, it's protected, that it's honored, right, that something is kind of continued. So wherever Vesta falls in your chart, it's like what you're constantly nurturing, taking care of, or like praying to. It can be almost seen as like an altar goddess as well. So we see the Sun Palace that's focusing on patterns in relationships, and it's squaring Vesta in Cancer. And then we also see Vesta in opposition to the Moon. Well, the Moon is what we need emotionally, and on an emotional level the next couple of months, it's like work, 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 grind. And then what we really need and what we need to be focusing on nurturing is our home, our roots, our emotions, our family. And here we have Palace and the Sun smack dab in the middle. We're going to see lots of themes revolving around finding balance in responsibility in relationships. It's a lot of like who's going to work and who's staying home and taking care of the kids, or, you know, whose job is it to, you know, take care of your parent within a family unit or a group, versus, you know, who's got too many home and family responsibilities as it is. We're going to hear lots of themes revolving around, you know, living situations, living crisis, cost of living crisis, I think as well. And that moon in Capricorn is like kind of like a frosty relationship or demeanor that we get from government officials in regards to some of the stress that we're having with our homelands or with cost of living. So with Palace and the Sun in the middle, square these 2 points, it's like, you know, pressure in relationships, having to problem solve and going like, okay, what's the best course of action? You know, do I need to do this and do you need to do that? Does it mean that we need to focus on, you know, being a team and kind of dividing and conquering things together, even if it might feel difficult and it might mean that there is some kind of separation within the relationship unit because of somebody needing to do something of, you know, for work and the other person needing to do what's best for the home. So this gives us the opportunity to be able to see through adversity where we can actually build in relationships stronger and where we can kind of find our strengths and weaknesses in relationship and kind of work with them, and delegate tasks or delegate, you know, the necessary time or space to be able to kind of be better on our own. And I think a lot of that is just the natural opposition to Aries, so we can be better building in relationships. But like I said, the square aspect, which you see both ways here, is definitely a bit challenging, and it does bring tension, it brings conflict, the need to overcome obstacles, and when the Sun invests in particular in a square, generally there's inner conflicts and challenges relating to the qualities that these two represent, so relationships and also home and family. Now, ways that this tension might manifest is, like I said, I think tension between the identity with the home and family. Because the Libra Sun seeks harmony and partnership and Cancer is focused on home, the tension can be a desire for personal identity and your commitment to domestic life, and struggling to find the balance between your individuality versus who you are with your family obligations, which also leads to conflicts and priorities. I think some of us might find ourselves between the need to focus on our own goals and ambitions, Aries, and social relationships and partnerships, Libra, and our dedication and need to protect our home and loved ones. Okay, so the conflict leads to moments of indecisions and guilt. I can already hear it, even though these conversations haven't started. I'm going to hear some clients that are going to be like, you know, am I the asshole because I don't want to go back home for Christmas? You know, is it wrong that I don't want to invite my mother-in-law over for the holidays? Like, you know, should I feel bad that I want to go on a vacation rather than, you know, being home for New Year's with my family? We're going to see some of this stuff that's naturally going to be coming up over the next couple of months. And I think the lesson here with the Sun in Libra is just learning how to be fair to one another. It doesn't mean that we have to agree, but learning to be fair with one another to kind of better get our points across. Obviously, we are going to see challenges in relationship dynamics. I'm pretty sure we've covered that, but it is possible that this can manifest as power struggles and tension between our need for personal identity and commitment to other people, but especially family. And being able to, through this square, find better balance, I think, with our commitment to our home and family, and it might require a conscious effort to prioritize and harmonize various energies in all of our lives. Don't forget to do something to ritualize the equinox. It's wonderful to work with the element of air. So sitting in meditation or setting your intentions, doing something to represent the balance. So scales can be great that you can put out, lighting a light and a dark candle, or doing anything that's just in regards to setting new intentions. The energy is that of like a new moon almost, and it's going to kind of take several weeks for it to fully kind of develop. I think in closing, one other thing to kind of take into consideration is that Libra is ruled by Venus. And when the equinox begins, we have Venus that's still in close proximity with Juno. So maybe many of you guys saw my video how I talk about clear into the beginning of October, Venus and Juno are moving side by side. So we have the planet that deals with love and harmony and socializing and beauty in close conjunction with Juno, which represents partnerships, devotion, dedication, and commitment. So it is possible as we go through Libra's season, and we're going to see Mars sextile with these two placements, that we have the opportunity to build stronger relationships. It requires more playtime, more fun, romance, creativity. But also in the background, Venus is still yet to come into a square with Uranus. So we saw that square several times throughout the Venus retrograde, and just shortly after this particular ingress of the Sun into Libra, Venus will be coming back into a square with Uranus, and we're going to see another kind of like tail whip in certain relationships and financial situations that's really going to kind of show us where we're breaking free in terms of certain commitments or certain value systems within relationships or our financial obligations. So know that that's kind of in the skies, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and get to what's going on the rest of this week. If you guys want to stay tuned to the end, I will let you know where the Sun in Libra or the equinox is taking place for each and every one of the 12 signs. And I'll give you guys a little bit of some ideas and how to kind of work with that and what to expect, okay? All right, so let's take this now to today. This is the 17th. Happy Sunday to the Sunday crew. I hope you guys are doing well. All right, so we wake up in the morning and the moon's in Libra. All right, and it's conjunct that south node. So we're waking up and we are in a mood, huh? Venus square Jupiter. Who else has been a victim of Venus square Jupiter this week? Oh my gosh, I'm just so ready for this square to end. It's like, it's never ending snacks, you guys. That's really what it is for me. So when the moon is conjunct the south node, okay, because the nodes are connected to the moon, this is like an emotional purge. It's a clearing out. Generally, we can kind of feel like emotionally we are reflecting on the past and what we need to let go of. South node moon Libra makes me feel like a tendency to prioritize other people, to be too much of a yes person, to be too lazy, to be too indulgent, too relationship focused, right? And because that moon is ruled by Venus, it's picking up the Venus-Jupiter square. So it was actually kind of happening a little bit yesterday. It's leaning into a little bit this morning, and then it's going to kind of ease up a little bit. Maybe you just wake up with a sweet tooth. Maybe you wake up and you just really want to be around another person, or you want to get together with somebody first thing in the morning, or you want to stay in bed and cuddle with your favorite person. I think that really what's interesting is that while the moon is coming into contact with the south node, it's still in a slight opposition to Chiron. So it's almost saying like where we need to do the clearing out emotionally of where we're too attached to other people, or maybe we're overdoing it. It's inhibiting us from really being able to kind of tend to our own wounds. So if you find that you're, waking up and you're like, I don't want to be alone, or I can't handle a relationship situation, you want to watch for those little overindulgences that can be coming up first thing in the morning. And whether that's just like a sweet tooth or an online spending spree or something, like it is in the skies all morning long today. So be mindful of that, and just a tendency to just, indulge a little bit too much until we see this lunar transit pass. We are also going to see the moon continue to keep moving through Libra. It looks like it's going to contact the south node in the mid-afternoon, and just after it goes through the south node, the moon starts coming into a square with Pluto. So it's like from around 1 p.m. Pacific on, like the afternoon in general can be a little intense, and primarily it's because then the moon in Libra starts squaring Pluto. So where there is some clearing out in relationships, creating some intense power dynamics with other people. There's going to be lots of talk about what is and is not fair. That definitely will be in the skies, especially because Venus square Jupiter is not just about overdoing it in terms of sweets and spending. It can also be about philosophy and beliefs in love and whether or not we feel like love is fair. But if there's anything that the Aries Libra axis has taught me, is that all is fair in love and war. And with this North Node in Aries, we're going to see a lot more people who are going to be prompted to have war, to fight, to be having conflict. Now Mars is moving through Libra, which means it's not direct, it's a little petty, it's passive aggressive, it's indecisive. We can see fluctuations in relationships. But when planets conjunct or square the nodes, that's when we see karmic things happen. So keep in mind that, the afternoon into the evening today, on Sunday the 17th, there is some relationship drama that's kind of brewing. Yes, the Mercury retrograde is over, but Mercury is still kind of in opposition to Saturn. So we need to be mindful that there can be tendencies to not communicate very well and feel like we're not really getting the point across, or maybe we're not feeling heard. Now later tonight, we're going to see the moon ingress into Scorpio, which in my mind is very similar to the moon square Pluto. So we're going to see that square come in later in the evening, and then somewhere around early morning, just after midnight, depending on where you are, the moon will ingress into Scorpio. Over the night, the moon will trine Saturn, so likely there is a deep purging, detoxifying, clearing. Maybe this is the aftermath of maybe having some drama on Sunday with other people. And we wake up in the morning on Monday the 18th, and the moon is still in Scorpio. Not too much is going to be going on, surprisingly. We're going to start to kind of pull some other things that are going to be coming on Tuesday. So really the only thing I have to kind of announce on Monday is just that moon trine Saturn, but it's going to happen so early that I don't really think we're going to get anything from it. Now remember, when the moon is in Scorpio, we are dealing with crisis or fear, or we're moving through issues with obsession or fixation. The ruler is Mars or Pluto. Mars isn't doing much, but it is starting to build into an opposition with Chiron. So we can see where there's friction in relationships, really leading us to be more aware of our own personal wounds. Maybe we're feeling like people are picking fights with us, so they're kind of pushing our buttons a little bit, making us feel a little bit more sensitive and insecure. That can definitely come up while the moon is in Scorpio. The only thing you are going to see is at some point in the morning, the moon is going to start forming a sextile to Mercury. So maybe we're able to kind of feel our way into some of these emotions and learn how to better connect and communicate and share, and realize that we need to kind of clean something out or clean something up, because both Mercury and the moon are going to hit 8 degrees. So that's pretty much it for Monday. Just some moodiness at the office. And then we're going to see the moon continue to move through Scorpio into Tuesday the 19th. Now this is a day, sometimes I pepper these into my forecast. This is a day that you want to watch the market. You're going to notice, because the opposition is actually going to start earlier in the morning, this will be before the markets open. The moon in Scorpio will form an opposition to Jupiter. So moon in Scorpio is kind of fear, moving through things very deeply. It's very intuitive, it's sensitive, it's already kind of on high alert of worst case scenario. The moon will oppose Jupiter, so it's going to make us all respond more so strongly, or in a very big way, to some kind of financial situation or something that's fluctuating or changing or growing with banks or the marketplace. And the moon will also come into a square with Venus. So we've got a fixed T-square, and this is going to be happening right around those 15 degrees. So mark your calendars for the 19th. Check those pre-market, trade announcements, because likely there's going to be some kind of reaction to maybe rates or some kind of fluctuation in the market trading patterns. Fixed T-squares are going to put the focus on the T, so that would be Venus. And Venus is still coming out of the square with Jupiter. So I think this is about people being inflation is going up even more. What? Is this going to be more Fed rate hikes? I don't know. We'll have to see. And then that moon is just going to keep doing its thing. It's going to, it's going to keep moving. And I guess one other thing I should say on Tuesday is that this is when the sun opposes Neptune. Okay, I did a video on that this week. You guys can check that out. But this is at 26 degrees, so this does deal with banking. 26 is a Taurus degree, and Neptune is what dissolves. And we're starting to not only see the opposition, where honestly things can be mysterious, strange, out of the blue, something we don't see coming, but we're also seeing the sun come into a trine with Pluto. So it's going to be about like being like, okay, there's this situation happening, but we've got somebody who's in control or negotiating something or like managing something, or you're going to hear more about like kind of, you know, government involvement with some of these potential issues within banking institutions. Could be foreign too, so we could hear more about foreign stuff or some kind of like change in regards to a foreign bank, or hopefully it's not something dissolving, but I have a hunch that it might be more news about certain smaller banks or institutions that are kind of dissolving into some of the bigger ones. I've seen a lot of that. We've seen a lot of like some of the crisis happening with some of the banks falling as we saw squares and oppositions with Uranus. So because that's in the skies also on the 19th, I wonder if that's what's going to happen. And then finally, later in the day, we're going to see later in the afternoon, that moon in Scorpio will then start coming into an opposition with Uranus at 22 degrees. So this is going to be actually a little bit closer to the evening. But 22 deals with government, and this deals with like, yeah, like leaders and older, you know, older people who are kind of in charge. So I'm wondering if there's like some kind of scare that goes on with some financial institution, and it's kind of like people coming out saying, well, you know, we're managing the situation, we're all over it, or we're going to have like a press briefing tomorrow. But similar to where the moon in opposition to Jupiter inflates a situation, the moon opposed Uranus creates some kind of public startling, kind of like, ooh, everybody gets kind of like jumpy because of something that's happening. So watch for that. That's going to be happening on the 19th. Likely this is also about resources. It's, you know, Taurus is what we possess. It's the banks. It's our resources. It could be bonds. It could be material goods. And then Scorpio deals with debt. So there's no coincidence. We're building closer to the beginning of October, and we're going to be hearing more and more about debt-related issues. Paying back student loans, the amounts of, you know, charge that we have on debit, just as, you know, private individuals. But also I think we're going to be hearing more about the interest that we are also paying on some of our debt-related issues here in the United States. All right, so now we're going to be taking the moon a little bit further through. So now we're working our way into Wednesday the 20th. And early in the AM, we're going to catch a moon trine Neptune. So some of you guys might still be snoozing. Maybe a little potential to oversleep a little bit here, but it can also be really intuitive, really psychic. You guys might have some really interesting dreams on Tuesday night going into Wednesday morning. We wake up then after that trine, and it looks like the moon is going to ingress into Sagittarius in the later morning. So this will be on Wednesday the 20th. Right before the moon changes signs, I guess I should have said, we're going to see also the moon sextile Pluto. So we'll see that trine to Neptune and a sextile to Pluto. So that can be about detoxing, clearing, you know, kind of prioritizing, planning, like feeling like we're more so in control. So if you're somebody who's an early riser, I actually kind of like early Wednesday morning for getting up, doing some meditation, some planning, kind of grounding your energy out before that energy shifts. All right, so now we're on Wednesday the 20th. We see that moon go into Sagittarius, where it's kind of bright and energetic, and it's more lively and it's fun. We're going to be focusing obviously on Jupiter, and Jupiter is retrograde. Not much is going to be happening with Jupiter, but because Venus is still a degree away, now we feel the effects of that Venus-Jupiter square again. So for some of you guys, the impulse spending, the sweets, the overreacting to relationships, overreacting to some financial situation is kind of popping back up again. We will see that moon come into a square with Saturn. So that makes me feel like there's some emotional delays. But at a 2, it can also be more financial news, and maybe a lot of people responding to things that are going on in other countries, because Sagittarius is seen as a global sign. So as that moon hits 2 degrees and it squares Saturn, it's like we're looking at things that are playing out in other countries and the impact that it might be having on the financial systems in general. But difficult time emotionally relating. We can find some delays and some setbacks with Sagittarius related themes like travel, education, law, all of those fun kind of 9th house themes. And we're also going to be seeing the sun in Virgo at 27 start coming into a trine with Pluto. So this is a Gemini degree, and I feel like this is going to be about conversations revolving around health, wellness. I think we're going to hear a lot in the media about health and wellness, and where the the government structures are here to assist and help in guiding or scheduling something in regards to the health or wellness fields, the service industry, and I think that this is going to be making some kind of headline. I personally feel like this is also going to be about directions, documents, articles, media that's coming out about this stuff. So you're going to see this kind of ramp up a little bit more on the 20th. Generally with the sun in Virgo, we're focused on being of service, being busy, focusing on organization, routine, cleanliness, and also like coming out of that opposition with Neptune, where people might have been feeling in the days earlier kind of lost, confused, scared, and then suddenly that sun trine Pluto was like, okay, no, we're feeling empowered. We have a plan. We have some direction. We have some support. Frankly, once we start to come out of the moon square Saturn, just after that, we're going to see the moon square Mercury. So I'm not going to say it takes away from the power of the sun trine Pluto, but we really want to get this out of a square with both Saturn and Mercury before we can really, I think, reap the benefits of that sun trine Pluto. All right, so we're going to see midday that this gets a little bit easier. So it looks like I take that back, in the evening. The moon is going to come into a square with Mercury, so it's difficult communicating even into the evening on Thursday. And, you know, these squares, I guess I should say, the mutable squares, do bring issues with miscommunications, misunderstandings, right? There can be a tendency of like not sharing the same belief system. We're going to see a lot of issues with like culture clash and religious clash and, you know, changes of beliefs revolving around, yeah, just like culture and clashes in regards to like lifestyle, perhaps, because Mercury is in Virgo. So that's going to go into the evening on Thursday. So watch for those differences of opinions. But on Friday, when we wake up on the 21st, Thursday the 21st, I got my dates mixed up, we're going to start feeling that the moon is going to come into a trine with Venus. So this gets a little bit easier, okay? So not to confuse you guys, but this is Thursday. What I was just talking about was Wednesday. So Thursday the 21st, we've got the moon trine Venus. So this is like one of the nicer aspects because we see a sextile between the moon and Mars. We see that the moon is trining Venus. So it's prioritizing fun and creativity, right? Venus in Leo, and adventure and desire. And then the moon's going to start picking up a trine to Chiron. So we've got a fire trine that's setting up here on Thursday the 21st, and it's kind of nice getting out of that fog and the confusion that we had on Wednesday. In particular, I feel like this can be a day where we're learning something new, we're feeling more positive, more optimistic about what the future holds. It can be a really great time for making plans to go on a trip. So if you're somebody who's been holding off in planning a trip, this can be a better time to do it. So I think that Thursday can be a little bit more action-oriented and positive. And we're still getting that sun trine Pluto. It's still kind of there. So until actually we get into the ingress of the sun into Libra, that's actually still hanging around for a little bit. So I think this is probably one of my favorite aspects all week long, that fire trine, where we learn how to heal through being creative, sharing, teaching other people, or traveling. So the moon is going to continue to move through Sag all day. Okay, so even when we get into later in the afternoon, still in good position. It doesn't really get kind of hairy until Friday. So I want you guys to make note of Friday. To me, this feels like a little bit like kind of chaotic this particular day. I'll show you why in a second. So the moon is going to continue to keep moving through Sagittarius, and what we're seeing here is we have Neptune in the late degrees of Pisces. We're going to see the moon go through the late degrees of Sag, and we see the sun in the late degrees of Virgo. So we are going to be seeing a mutable square that's going to be playing out involving the moon. So the moon will square Neptune, where we're like kind of emotionally overwhelmed or not seeing something so clearly, or we're more sensitive maybe to criticism. And then the moon is going to square Virgo. So we see the sun and the moon square each other. So it feels like things are kind of like not working together very seamlessly. There is like a little feeling discombobulated. So changes, right? When we see mutable squares, we see change. So right around the 2 o'clock Central Time hour, this is where we see the moon hit 29 degrees, the sun hit 29 degrees, and 29 degrees always brings some kind of significant completion or change. I feel like the, who was it that, I can't think of the name of the character from Zoolander, but it's when Will Ferrell is like holding the dog. Will Ferrell is holding the dog and he's like, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. That's how I feel when planets hit 29 degrees of the mutable signs. So just take note, somewhere around the afternoon on Friday, things feel a little wonky, especially if you're like a mutable sign. So if you are Pisces, Sag, Virgo, or Gemini, especially the late degrees, you're going to feel this square pretty intensely and be like, what the heck is going on? Then you're going to start to see within 2 hours, things kind of change a little bit. We're going to see the moon move into Capricorn, so that energy eases up a little bit. And then we're focusing on Saturn. And so the moon will sextile Saturn. So we can kind of bounce back, we can stabilize, we can focus on kind of trying to get some work done after what seems like a chaotic afternoon. Maybe we had to kind of problem solve or change our schedule a little bit. And then we're going to start seeing, let's see, the sun get ready to come into Libra. So like I said, when the equinox hits, so this is the very beginning of Libra season, the sun is in Libra, the moon is in Capricorn. So this square is still kind of hanging around for the better part of the next season. Now, when we look at this chart, something else to take into consideration is at least the moon is in a sextile to Saturn. So there is some sense of saying, hey, we have a responsibility to get something done. That may be possible with meditation, reflection, taking time alone to work on things. I also noticed the proximity of seeing, Mars and the South Node. It means that we're really dealing with cutting off something karmic from the past. We're clearing something out. We've got Mars and Venus that are in a sextile to each other, so they're supporting each other in some way. And we're starting to see Mars come into opposition with Chiron. And so this is something you guys might be feeling all week long. It may not really kick in until later in the week, going into the weekend. But because Mars rules the North Node in Aries, which is about our personal identity, our purpose, our drive, our desire, Mars in Libra is basically saying there can be a lot of us, pushing towards relationships, pushing partners' buttons, pushing too much for, demanding fairness, balance, to where there can be some kind of like upsetting the apple cart with other people. And when Mars starts opposing Chiron, there can be a sense of like getting triggered in relationships and partners being very, kind of like nitpicky, right? There can be a little bit of like nitpickiness in the sky. After all, Mercury is still in Virgo. So watch for that, because you can kind of be feeling that energy pretty strongly. And as the moon continues to move through Capricorn on Saturday, it's going to start coming into a trine with Mercury. So midday communication gets a little bit easier. We have an opportunity to work on something, get the job done. Another Sunday with moon in Capricorn. So this is giving us the opportunity, both Saturday and Sunday, to get some kind of work done. So there may be some need to handle business Saturday afternoon. And then as the moon keeps moving, then it's going to pick up a trine to Jupiter. So just even looking at this, like, I'm making a mental note, like, wow, Saturday's going to be pretty productive. We've got a nice earth trine between Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. And finally, Virgo is out of, Mercury's out of retrograde. So there's a lot of like maybe completing tasks or finalizing details for things that we've been working on for the last few weeks. So I would save a little time in the afternoon, actually, on Saturday to complete a task or get something finished, to show up and get it done Earth trines provide us the opportunity to physically have the capabilities of wrapping something up. And then we're going to see the moon keep moving, picks up the trine to Jupiter in the late afternoon, and then Saturday night. Okay, so Saturday night seems a little iffy to me. So first of all, when the moon's in Capricorn, it's harder to show or express our emotions or our feelings, right? We can be a little bit more stern. And with Saturn retrograde in Pisces, there is a sense of shying away from something or not being as emotionally available. We know that when planets square the nodes, karmic things happen. So I want you guys to know this is in the skies, basically, from Saturday night into Sunday morning. That moon first comes into a square with Mars. So this is just saying there is a potential relationship, conflict, challenge with other people being kind of combative brewing. We've got a few planets, more than a few, that are not necessarily in the easiest signs, okay? We also are going to be feeling this Venus square Uranus, because now that we're in Libra season, whatever Venus is doing, we pick up on it. So you guys are finally going to see the final Venus-Uranus square coming up next week, and we're going to almost see like the grand finale for some of these back and forth relationship and financial situations. But first we see Mars and the moon square, which means that we can be kind of responding kind of coldly to like action or needs of other people, or other people can kind of be pushing our buttons a little bit. Then we start seeing the moon come into square with Chiron. So this is about how we respond on an instinctual level. Do we get mad? Do we react? Is there something going on that requires some kind of effort, working together, being responsible, right? Doing well by one another. That puts us in a situation where we're like, okay, by giving to you, I'm making a sacrifice that hurts me. And so we're having to find the balance. So like all Libra season, we're really exercising this. So then the moon is going to keep moving, and it's going to then start coming into a square with Chiron. This will be happening later in the evening on Saturday night. So just be mindful if you are going out, if you're doing something with a significant other, if you're doing something with other people, the moon in Capricorn is like, I would rather be working. I have things that I need to be doing. Like, I don't have time for this. So people who already have a lot on their plate, where they're feeling like they're kind of taking time to stop and smell the roses and enjoy their off time, might be feeling like certain relationship dynamics are not very pleasant, and be wishing that they hadn't taken the time to do that. And they can be feeling like they're making a sacrifice of some kind. So you might hear about that. All right, so then we're going to see late in the evening on Saturday, there is some room for positivity. We are going to start feeling Mercury coming into a trine with Jupiter. A lot of this is going to take place more on Sunday. So this is now the 24th. And when we wake up in the morning, the moon is first trining Uranus. So things are changing, things are shifting. We're changing something about our values. We're changing something about our resources. I do think this is going to be more information coming out about, you know, how banks are handling financial situations, things that are going to be relating to changes and transformations that are suddenly taking place with financial institutions. I think we're going to be hearing more about kind of money moving in the markets. And when the moon comes into the later degrees of Capricorn, it's going to square the nodes. So that means Sunday, okay, moon in Capricorn, our interaction with superiors, with elders, our interaction with bosses, things that are changing in regards to politics, government, all of that stuff is going to start making the news headlines. I know Sunday, right? But you're going to be hearing about what's coming up in the week ahead. And when the moon squares the nodes, it's basically saying there are events taking place that require us to do the emotional work to get out of the past of past relationship karma, of being indecisive, giving too much, sacrificing for others, so we can go more in the direction of what our own personal needs are. North Node and Chiron are only getting closer and closer, which means between now and spring of 2024, we're going to be feeling the burden of having to come forward and say, this doesn't work for me. It might have worked for us in the past, but I need to make this change. And we're going to start to see how those personal changes and those needs to evolve on a personal level, heal ourselves, own our own personal needs, can actually impact our relationships. And so what Libra is kind of teaching us throughout this season is that it is possible to work together. We can find that kind of middle ground. It may mean that it brings some sparks up, but it also means that we're either going to grow together or we're going to grow apart. So You might notice on Sunday that there is like this pressure that's going on that's like, okay, are we going to move out of some of these old outdated ways of handling things? This last week, it's been interesting to kind of see some, older, been a few Republicans. I think one was Mitt Romney, but there's been a couple other people in politics that are like, you know what, I'm getting too old, I'm passing the torch. So it's interesting to see like the Pluto retrograde through Capricorn, where there are some people who are involved in politics and government that are like, I don't need to be doing this anymore. We need to kind of make space for new blood. New blood is North Node in Aries. So I'm wondering if we're going to be hearing more from other older politicians who are like, you know what, I've had my time, like moving on to the next thing. And we may actually start to see them support some younger and newer up and coming politicians that are coming up on the scene, because Capricorn deals with government. So I'm wondering if there's a connection there in this next week. Then we're going to see the moon that's not just going to square the nodes, and it'll square at 25. So that's like what action you're personally taking. Then it'll conjunct Pluto. So what does it mean? Sunday, the 24th in the morning, there is still some pressure. Maybe the pressure is like, you got to get some work done, right? I'm hoping that's the easiest way this manifests. But when the moon comes into conjunction with Pluto, we're confronted with the need to change, purge, purify, transform, move through all of like the heavy stuff and go through some kind of rebirth process. The dispositor of this is Saturn, and Saturn is in Pisces and it's retrograde. So it's basically saying like there is something that's dissolving behind the scenes, something that's going on, something that's fallen apart. The moon can deal with our home. It can deal with our roots, our family, our living circumstances. And because Saturn is retrograde, I think we're going to be hearing more about some of these situations with, immigration. I think we're going to be hearing stuff in regards to what's going on with like border walls and things like that. All right, so on Sunday, then the moon is going to cross Pluto. So looks like this like intense period is pretty much going down from around about, so 9 a.m. Central Time until that moon ingresses into Aquarius, and that'll be right around 7 p.m. Central Time. So yeah, quite most of the day. And when the moon drops into Aquarius, it's going to then start trining the sun. Okay, so Aquarius can be like friends, having fun, having a good time. Personally, I kind of feel like Saturday night and even Sunday morning is more about getting down to business, getting something done, getting something worked out. Maybe keeping your plans to Sunday night would be better. It's going to be a little bit more free-flowing and harmonious. Having the moon trine the sun, where things are just kind of working together and things are going a little bit more smoothly. And we're not really kind of feeling some of like the more difficult effects of some of that moon in a square to the nodes. And so it might actually represent that, hey, you know what, something's not working in regards to a relationship. Like, I'm going to go and do what I want to do. I'm going to hang out with my friends, right? Moon in Aquarius. Or I'm going to kind of go and connect and network with other people. Or I'm going to go out to dinner with a group of people. So it might talk about relating and socializing with people in another way. And when that ingress happens on Sunday night, we're picking up the energy of Uranus, which is retrograde still, and Venus is building into that square. So you'll actually see going into next week, it looks like Venus is going to complete her final square to Uranus as she continues to work through the Venus retrograde shadow on the back end. Okay. So that's really the week at a glance, just to give you guys like the long and short of it. Friday feels a little hectic in the afternoon, so be mindful of that. And I'm really liking Saturday night and Sunday morning for getting things done, socializing a little bit more on Sunday night. Probably the easiest day is going to be Thursday when you see that moon in Sagittarius trine Venus and Chiron. Okay, so let me take you guys now. I want to talk to you just briefly here really quick about where the ingress of the sun in Libra is going to be for each and every one of the 12 rising signs, just to give you guys a heads up. Remember that because the equinox is that ingress, it's giving you the opportunity for fresh starts. And we are gearing up for eclipse season. So we will actually see in mid-October that there are going to be eclipses taking place. The very first, actually, solar eclipse in Libra. This will be the second eclipse. That'll be a series of eclipses in the Aries, Libra, nodal eclipses. So we're gearing up for this season. You guys are going to be feeling a lot of this as of right now because we're only a few weeks away. So as a reminder, wherever this is in your chart, this is about focusing on finding the balance, okay? We want to find the balance. And we're in a short window of time here. The very first beginning part of Libra season, Venus is in Leo, which is actually friendly, air and fire, right? They work well together. Even in spite of Venus square Uranus, Venus is still going to come into both a trine with Chiron as well as the North Node. So we have reason and the capabilities to heal. As we start to get into later into Libra season, and I did talk about this during my eclipse webinar, which if you guys are watching this right now on Sunday, I'm doing it live. You missed it, but you'll get the playback. The next two eclipses are Venus eclipses, and they're ruled by Venus, and Venus will be in Virgo. So it is going to be some tricky waters navigating some of these eclipses with Venus moving through a sign that deals with sickness and illness, and it's a mercurial, placement. So if you guys want to know more about that, stay tuned. I'm going to have some stuff coming out about it soon, or consider watching my playback of the fall eclipse webinar. But please listen for your rising, your sun and your moon sign. I'm a whole sign Western astrologer for the purpose of this right now. So I'm going to show you guys your whole rising sign, and we're going to talk about where this is going down. So let me turn this over for you. And you know what? I did not read to you guys the Sabian symbol, and I would like to do that. Okay, there we go. All right, so as a reminder, this is on the 23rd, okay? 23rd of September, that's when you're going to see the equinox begin. So I hope you guys find something fun to do for that, to ritualize that. So I'm gonna read you guys the Sabian symbol for Libra 1. A butterfly made perfect by a dart through it. The keyword is articulation. The theme is emergence. The symbol speaks to a sudden and sharp awakening to the fact that individuals have the freedom to shape their own destiny and whatever they want in their lives. The image of a butterfly made perfect by a dart through it suggests a piercing of consciousness and initiation through sacrifice and pain into a higher level of understanding. The butterfly is a symbol of immortality or eternal unascending existence. An analogy can be drawn that the crucifixion of Christ, the perfection of the butterfly, alludes to more of the completion of the cycle rather than any degree of excellence. The old dies and emerges into history. Life is born again in other forms. New potential waits to be refined. At its highest, the symbol represents transformation and change, a rare ability to both perceive the underlying meaning in endings and recognize hidden opportunities in new beginnings. Watch for long suffering and witless fatalism. Today, the accent is on initiation. A dramatic experience could make you sharply aware of who you are at your core. Your greatest advantage lies in focusing on the reasons that things have come to an end and on the potential that can be released or uncovered through pain and suffering. Guard against sacrificing yourself for all the wrong reasons or letting others mistreat you. Watch what you say. Words can wound. Stepping stones are an awakening, emergence, awareness, transformation, significance, freedom, self-expression, self-refinement, initiation, sacrifice, pain, or release. Well, I mean, I think about like Libra and how Libra is connected to the 7th house, right? And it is the house of where the sun sets, where we meet other people. So there's big completions when it comes to us personally, and then other people kind of come into the mix. I think it also talks a lot about where, we're moving out of like the 6th house of Virgo kind of kingdom, where there has been sacrifice and there has been healing and there's been sickness and there's been a lot of delays and accidents and just having to kind of work through the gunk before finally we're able to kind of like get to the end of the week, and then we can like go out and kind of connect with other people. So something new is basically emerging. And I guess maybe I'm a little bit biased. This is my rising degree, so I've always been kind of interested in this particular degree because it does talk about that initiation into Libra, and that something has to change on a personal level for an individual to become a part of a partnership. So in a way, it also talks about it being more than just you, but emerging, right? Like the butterfly does from like the cocoon. So now we're going to start to see emerging situations in relationships start to become visible, right? The sun is kind of shining a light on that, and what role we play in the dynamics of the relationships and the people around us. All right. So let's start with Aries and Aries rising. What's going on, Aries? I hope you're well. So we've got Aries. The sun is moving through Libra. So the sun's going through your 7th house. So it's going to be here for a couple of weeks. It is shining a light on anything in regards to relationships and other people. So like I said, we're going to see in about a little less than a month, an eclipse is going to be rolling through here. Okay, so think of this as like a prep period for you to be able to kind of look at who you're in relationship with, who is assisting you, who is partnering with you, and what is and is not working. It can mean that somebody new comes into your life, right? Because the sun rules the 5th house. So somebody that you meet, that you like fall in love with. It can be about more opportunities for joy, creativity, joining with other people, and finding more opportunities for relationships and harmony through some of these particular connections. So watch for significant meetings or opportunities to be meeting with other people. The card that I got for you is the 8 of Cups, which is interesting because it's a lot of like, see you later. It's like, okay, maybe there is a sense of becoming aware of what you're moving away from in relationships. In all honesty, you do have the South Node there, right? You do have Mars there, so Mars is getting really close. So it can be an indication that you're moving away from one person, but it might be that somebody new is kind of coming in. So there can be a bit of like a do-si-do going on, where there is like a swapping or a changing or an exchange in certain relationships or partnerships that are taking place. Okay, look for that more when Mars conjuncts the South Node. Good luck. We've got Taurus and Taurus rising. You will be experiencing the sun's ingress into Libra, going through your natal 6th house. This will be this equinox energy in the part of your chart that deals with health and routine. Pets, coworkers, finding the balance in your everyday routine, relationships that you might have with these people. That is all your 6th house. And the sun rules your 4th house of home, family, and your roots. So I kind of feel like this is about you getting on the same page probably with a partner or with somebody who can kind of help find the balance in your home life or in your routine. It might mean that you're working from home. It might mean that you have a partner working from home in the next week or so. It might mean that you're just focusing on collaborating with somebody else in the house to kind of find a better schedule, more harmony, and the opportunity to kind of like bring more beauty to your everyday life and routine. The card that I get for you is the Death card, which is interesting because this is the house, right? The 6th house is almost like the 12th house for your partners and relationships. So some Taurus and Taurus risings are realizing when it comes to their relationships, their partners, there are some things that they're clearing out. Now you've got the North Node eclipse that has already gone through your 12th house, and it's going to get reactivated in the next couple of weeks. So it is possible that there are some things that you've been planning on ending, planning on getting rid of, planning on clearing out. I'm wondering, is this a bad habit, right? Because the Death card can be saying like, I'm putting an end to this. Definitely with the sun through the 6th house, you're more focused on health and routine, but also with Mars in the South Node there, it means that you might have to kind of purge or get rid of or clear something out that you know is no longer good for you. And you're like, this is the end of the road. Good luck, Taurus. We got Gemini and Gemini rising. You will be experiencing the sun's ingress and the equinox in Libra in your natal 5th house. Well, Gemini, this is a fellow sister sign, so when planets move through your 5th house, it's pretty friendly. You experience trines at some point. So when the sun moves through the 5th house, for starters, it's very strong in this house because the sun likes to be in the 5th house. This is a house that deals with creativity, joy, and fun. I think about the connection of the sun and the 3rd, where you might be focusing on, writing as a creative hobby. There might be an opportunity to go and have playtime with a partner, going on a road trip. You might be working on creative projects and kind of getting some stuff prepared, and just more focus on togetherness with another person of some kind. Siblings can come up, neighbors can come up, people that you meet in your neighborhood that you can kind of strike up potential romantic connection with can happen here as well, or just opportunity for joy with younger people, because that's what the 5th house can bring. So for you, it's actually pretty positive, Gemini. I'm kind of loving it, to be honest with you. The card that I get for you is the 2 of Wands, which means that you're open. You're like, yeah, I'm open to meeting someone, or I'm open to trying to learn a new hobby. You're trying to connect with, somebody who might be a good like creative partner. Maybe that you're kind of looking into new ways to kind of connect and find fun things to do for like date night. That can be coming up with Libra in the 5th house. But the Two of Wands represents a choice, kind of evaluating where you want to go, what you want to do. So maybe you're getting out and exploring other parts of your city, right? Because the sun's connection to the 3rd, and you're like, let's go, you know, have dinner on the other side of town. Let's go to an area that's not as familiar. So it could be a little bit more fun and exciting. Good luck, Gemini. All right, so we've got Cancer and Cancer rising. You're going to be experiencing the sun's ingress into Libra and the fall equinox. This will be taking place in your natal 4th house of home and family. All right, so just in my mind, okay, because you're a cardinal sign, know that you're going to have the beginning of the equinox in the 4th house, which is bringing your attention to how you're feeling, what's going on in your home life, what's happening with your family. Eclipses will be coming here. So some of you guys are going to notice that there's something going on with like a relative. Maybe you're having a yard sale, you're clearing the house out, maybe you're moving in or out of a place, maybe you're closing on your first home, or maybe there's a bit of a squabble with somebody within the home front. But when this starts, you're actually going to have the moon in Capricorn. So the moon will be in Capricorn. It'll square the sun. It'll oppose you. So I'm wondering, is there like something going on with like your relationship with relatives? And is there like a bit of a friction there? Or some kind of, conversation revolving around your living situation and a partnership that might be coming up here as well. But with the sun going into the 4th house, it just might mean that, you're spending more time at home, you're reflecting more on your emotions or on your family, and perhaps taking more action when it comes to your private life, right? This is also relationship past, Libra 4th house, so that can be coming up here for you as well. The card that I get is the 9 of Cups, which quite frankly is a great card. I feel like this is about getting what you want out of a situation. If you're hoping to have a better living situation arise, if you're looking to find more beauty or more pleasure, right, Libra, when it comes to your home base or designing something or sprucing something up, that can happen as well. But the 9 of Cups is about emotional fulfillment and feeling like complete or content with something that's going on at home. So I'm wondering, are you guys getting ready to move? Are you feeling excited about that? Are you finishing renovations? Are you planning on having family, come and visit you? Whatever it is, it looks like it's a very positive time ahead, okay? Good luck, Cancer. We've got Leo and Leo rising. You will be experiencing the equinox and the sun moving into Libra. This will be taking place in your natal 3rd house. This is significant for you because you really feel when the sun changes signs because you're ruled by the sun, Leo. So having the sun go through here, it's giving you a fresh start, which is also supporting who you are because it's going to sextile your ascendant. Now, the 3rd house is all about communication, learning, traveling, gadgets, vehicles, right? So with the sun in the 3rd house, you're on the move, you're communicating more, talking to people more, telling them what's on your mind, what you think. Maybe you're feeling a little bit more romantic, maybe you're feeling a little bit more creative, and there is a sense of just, wanting to feel like mentally stimulated. I'm really loving the sextiles to Venus in your 1st house as well. I feel like there can be like very passionate conversations that are kind of coming up for you right now, especially when it comes to how you can better communicate and relate to your partners. Planning trips and things might be happening here also because you have the Mars moving through your 3rd house. The card that I get is the 4 of Swords, which is interesting because generally this is a card of rest, and there's no rest in your 3rd house right now. So I'm wondering if this is about letting certain things lie, if it's about letting something be, letting something come to fruition on its own. Generally, the 4 of Swords does talk about kind of like recuperation. It can mean that maybe there is like this theme that's coming up where you're realizing that, you can't overthink something. You can't over worry about something. You can't always, keep running around in circles mentally or like having the same conversations. And I feel like with Mars coming in conjunction with the South Node, you might realize like you just have to kind of learn to let some things go and not get too emotionally wound up about it. Practicing more, opportunities to kind of like blow off steam or just like release some of this tension. Definitely with the third house sun, I feel like going for like walks and like bike rides or like journaling, it can really kind of help you release some of that South Node Mars energy that's going to be building up over the next week. Good luck. We've got Virgo and Virgo rising. You're going to be experiencing the sun in Libra, the beginning of the fall equinox here in your second house. This is your money house, house of resources, house of possessions, and self-esteem. So the sun going through this part of the sky does put an emphasis on feeling good about yourself, feeling like you have resources, what you're doing with your money, perhaps spending. The sun is connected to your 12th house. So there may be subconscious desires for possessing things, for having things, dreaming about what you hope to achieve, dreaming about relationships and what your goals might be in regards to these things. Interesting, considering Venus has been retrograde in your 12th, so maybe you're hoping that some of these things come to fruition in reality. I also think that, you know, this particular transit is about really taking stock in what you have, okay? Pretty soon you're going to have a South Node Mars conjunction, which means that there might be a sense of having to pay something off, give something back. Somebody might be giving something to you, so it can also be indicating that there's going to be some kind of gain that's going to be happening. So somebody else's loss might be your gain, essentially. But what you'll see throughout this transit in general with the solar eclipse and the sun conjunct the South Node is not putting too much value on things, whether it's a person or it's a possession. So I think something about this is saying focus more on what you do have, not on what you don't have, and, you know, come to terms with what it's okay to kind of finally let go of. We have the Emperor, which is interesting. This is about Aries. I kind of feel like this is about letting go of things that aren't going to provide you with security after all. Like if there's something that's providing you with a sense of fake security, right? The Emperor is about managing a situation, and the fact that the North Node is going through Aries in the 8th, the Emperor is basically saying, like, you need to learn how to work through change. You need to embrace change. You need to get comfortable with feeling like you're not always going to be in control, and that like things are going to come up that are going to kind of put you in a position of being like, okay, I can handle it. So whether this is emotional changes, relationship changes, financial changes, I think the Emperor card coming up is saying it's really important to really be focusing on the spiritual or the psychological side of what you're willing to give up, but through doing so, the strength and the courage that you might obtain through that process. Good luck, Virgo. For Libra and Libra rising, you're going to be experiencing the sun going through your sign. So whether you're a sun, moon, or rising Libra, you're going to be experiencing this energy. You're coming into your birthday season here pretty soon if you're a Libra sun. For my Libra risings, the sun ingress into Libra is moving through your first house, which basically means that it's bringing attention to your appearance, your physical body, how you look, your overall vitality, and your own goals and your own needs. Now, the sun is connected to your 11th house of personal goals, but it's also friendships, networking, and other people. So you might be recognized by other people. There might be more opportunities to socialize. You might be connecting with new groups and having fun. I think this is an interesting time because there can be a sense of you really looking at yourself more objectively and kind of going, what do I want to change? What do I like and what do I not like? What am I ready to let go of? Pretty soon you'll have a Mars South Node conjunction, so there can definitely be a feeling of needing to blow off some steam, having some challenges potentially with other people or some karmic connections with people from the past. But you're also going to be experiencing a solar eclipse here in mid-October. So I would really be paying attention with this ingress of like where it's time to shed skin. And you might be more aware right now of like, you know, the layers that you need to be peeling away as you come into the next couple of weeks and you set intentions around that solar eclipse or your solar return for a new and improved version of you. Pay attention to your physical body though, because there can be a sense of being a little bit more accident prone with Mars there and maybe just running around a little bit too much and appeasing other people. But I think the sun in the first house is very strong and it's very focused on your own personal goals. The card that I got for you is the Page of Coins. So this is interesting. This is about investing in yourself. This is also about new opportunities to plant new seeds. Pentacles can be about money, but it can also be about health and resources. So I kind of feel like this is about you going, how can I better invest in my health? What changes can I make? How am I learning how to better kind of take care of myself? This can be what you're eating. This can be about your routines, your work routines. This is also potentially about your physical body and like how you're treating your physical body. And taking small steps to invest in yourself. So that way, when you come into the eclipse probably next month, it's a little bit easier to kind of navigate, right? Good luck, Libra. We've got Scorpio and Scorpio rising. What's going on, guys? You are having the sun ingress into Libra. We're going to have the fall equinox here in your 12th house. This is a bit of a tricky one for you. So basically, this is moving into the part of the skies which is hidden. It is spiritual. It is resting, right? It needs privacy. It needs alone time. And Libra can be talking about relationship karma, releasing things from the past, people from the past, you know, imbalances in relationships. And the sun rules your 10th house of career. So to me, it seems like there are certain things that are getting ready to cycle out or kind of wrap up about your either public life, your position, or your relationship. But a lot of relationship karma stuff coming up for Scorpio risings because you have Mars going through your 12th house and Mars rules your sign. So with Mars coming into conjunction with the South Node, you might be finding that there are some unexpected kind of challenges coming up for you subconsciously where you're feeling a little antsy, you're feeling a little restless. Some things are cycling out in relationships or in your professional life. The good news is that this happens naturally as you're coming into your birthday season. So it is normal for there to be kind of like new things that are changing in relationships just prior to you coming into your birthday. Scorpio is a sign that's associated with change and transformation. So it looks like your partners or something about hidden partners or changes in relationships are kind of kicking off this process. More when Mars conjuncts the South Node in the next couple of weeks, more when we get into eclipse season in mid-October. It's not unusual when you see some of these transits for something to suddenly end. So it could be a job that could end, a client relationship could end, a romantic relationship could end. And there can be a sense of you kind of feeling like you need a little bit more privacy throughout this particular time. The card that I get is the Knight of Swords. I think this is Mars in Libra. This can be, you know, you want to be careful with Mars conjunct the South Node because it can mean that there is some kind of like self-undoing that comes up because you're getting a little restless and maybe there can be a sense of being like a little bit too communicative or too intense with another person. That could lead to like a bit of like a relationship falling out. There can also be issues with coworkers because Mars rules your 6th house where there can be some people who might not necessarily be as friendly or as trustworthy, and they might start to kind of show their true colors. So be mindful of communication. There can be news that can be coming. You're very tapped in with planets in the 12th house and you're intuitive about the fact that there may be some issues in regards to your work or your schedule. Good luck, Scorpio. We've got Sag and Sag rising. You will be experiencing the sun's ingress into Libra, and this will be the fall equinox here in your 11th house. So the 11th house is all about goals, friends, networks, right? And the sun is connected to your 9th house of travel, philosophy, education, and your beliefs. The nice thing is that Libra is friendly with your sign. So if you're a Sagittarius, sun, moon, or rising, this ingress sextiles your sign. So it does kind of flow positive energy into your chart. Generally, this is a pretty social sign, right? So the sun through the 11th house can be focusing on your relationships with others, networking, going to parties, kind of getting together with friends. Next month, you'll see a solar eclipse here, which can talk about the importance of how you're connecting with certain people, but the right people, right? You're getting ready to have the South Node conjunct Mars. So there can be opportunities to connect with people romantically in a social sense. So a friend might set you up with somebody. You might meet somebody at kind of like a mixer. But it can also mean that there is this awareness that's brewing about which friends are working and which ones are not. Now, the North Node's moving through your 5th house, which is about your own personal pleasure, creativity, and happiness. So you might notice that there is like a natural kind of falling apart with certain friends, but not with all of them. There can be a reconnection with people who you haven't seen as Mars touches on the South Node. For the most part, though, I think this is about focusing on your goals and like the people who can help you make some of these things possible. The card that I get for you is the King of Swords. So this is all about speaking your mind, being direct, being honest and upfront. I wonder if this is going to be about you dealing with a Libra because you have Sun and Mars in your 11th house, or it could be another air sign. So it could be an Aquarius or a Gemini as well. But this is about getting your point across, feeling heard, communicating, and directing your thoughts and ideas towards a group of people. So if you have the opportunity to do that, to share or give like a speech, definitely consider speaking your mind. Good luck. We've got Capricorn, Capricorn rising. All right, so you're going to be experiencing the sun's ingress into Libra. This will be going through your 10th house. This is all going to be about your career, your purpose, and your reputation. This is also going to be the equinox, so it's a brand new, fresh energy. The 10th house is a house that you're familiar with because you're a Saturn-based sign, so you understand the importance of reputation and work and how you're seen by other people. There's going to be a lot of action here over the next month, so it is possible that some of you guys might change jobs, quit jobs, get laid off. You guys might have challenges with some of your relationships with people in a professional field. I say this because the eclipse is coming next month. I say this because you also have Mars conjunct the South Node. So it is possible that some of the friction you're having is with a parent. And then you're going to have, a number of planets that are going to kind of dance on the South Node. So there's changes in regards to your status, your reputation, who you're working with, or who you're partnering with. The focus here is change. Change is the name of the game because the sun rules your 8th house of other people's resources, transformation. And you might realize that it's time for you to work out of working with some people, or that the client relationship has kind of like run dry, or maybe it's time to kind of look for a job in another company. Some of you guys might have bosses or superiors that get laid off or quit or retire. That's the other way that I could look at this. But for the most part, I think the sun going through there is really a powerful time to get a lot of work done. Mars is here as well. You might find that naturally you're just kind of really like, chugging along, getting as much done as possible and getting recognition. While Sun and Mars are in your 10th house, you're definitely very dedicated, but there's also like a sense of having a lot more eyes on you. So be mindful that you are being seen more, and working together with other people to be able to get the job done is how you want to do it, rather than kind of having friction and kind of going your own way at work and being a little bit domineering. That's not really going to work in relationships over the next couple of weeks. So try to harmonize with people who can kind of help you build, okay? And be open to change because the sun is going through that particular part of the sky. You're not going to be able to make everybody happy with these transits, right? You're going to be able to please everybody. I think that's okay. The card that I get is the World card. So where are you completing something? Are you like, my job here is done, I'm finished with this contract, I'm on to the next, or like maybe it's time for me to, retire, maybe it's time for me to like switch positions. Something is completing, and it's positive because the World card basically says, yes, you can pass go, collect your $200, you're done with this lesson, on to the next. So whatever you're leaving behind, maybe you feel good about what you're leaving behind and that you've, kind of achieved what you needed to achieve, and like now you're on to bigger, better things. Good luck, Capricorn. We have Aquarius and Aquarius rising. You will be experiencing the sun going through Libra in your 9th house, and this will be the fall equinox. So you're going to be finding some opportunity for renewal here. In a sister sign, right? So obviously Libra is friendly with Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising. So you're going to really enjoy the trines at some point between the sun and your sign. So it's kind of harmonizing together. The 9th house, which is an active house, it deals with beliefs, travel, legal situations, and education, is very active for you. I think the sun going through there might indicate that There is opportunity to travel with a partner. Maybe you're meeting with mentors, teachers, publishers. Maybe this is about ceremonies or, yeah, like I could see weddings. I could see being invited to weddings. I could see talking about committing more seriously with other people as well, because the sun is moving through this part of the sky. Regardless, your beliefs are changing, they're shifting and evolving when it comes to what relationships can be, or who can help kind of shape your beliefs or your philosophy out in the world. Definitely connecting with friends or partners in other places or of other cultures is a huge theme here as well, and where you learn a lot about relationships with people who might have a different background than your own. Long distance relationships can be a theme here as well, for sure, especially if you're traveling and you meet somebody, for sure. Let's take a look. Six of Wands. So this is about victory, being well received. I feel like if you are talking about going and meeting somebody in a different place, they're open to it, they're warm, they're receptive. If you're wanting to, you know, relocate, it looks like it could play out. If you're wanting to get accepted into a new program, that would definitely be really positive, because it's about having a warm welcoming. I also wonder, with like Mars coming into conjunction with the South Node, is this just about you traveling and connecting with people in other places, or is this going to be about you maybe trying to publish something and get recognition from another person? That could be positive as well. If there's legal pending situations or legal documents, travel documents, it looks like that might kind of move through successfully here as well. But the Six of Wands is like saying, yes, what you're trying to achieve, where you're going, it ultimately is going to work out. Good luck. And we got Pisces and Pisces rising. You will be experiencing the sun in Libra, moving through your natal 8th house of change, transformation, joint resources, kind of karmic connections, karmic ties. And this is going to be the fall equinox. So this is all about finding this opportunity for restart and balance. This is obviously a place where the sun has a difficult time shining. So it can feel like a little bit of a blind spot for you, Pisces, because there's a change or transformation going on within relationships. Health of relationships, scheduling, you know, shifts in your habits and your patterns that affect you psychologically or financially. Now, the sun rules the 6th house. So what's changing? Relationships with kids. It can be your relationships to your habits, your daily routine. People can have a huge effect on this change. So therapists, partners, and how you're navigating learning to let go of something. Letting go of habits is great. Like if you're like, I want to let go of a relationship that's not working. I want to let go of like an old pattern or an old habit that might get triggered through challenges in relationships. I'm ready to finally let that go. I could definitely see for you also that this is the time where you're embracing the unknown, and you may not know the future of a financial situation, or you may not know the future of a situation involving a relationship, but you're kind of going, it doesn't matter. I have to be willing to kind of make my own moves, even if that means that I have to kind of get a little creative with how to better plan how to exit that relationship financially or emotionally. And I think the sun going through the 8th house is just a period of psychological review. And so you might need somebody to help you kind of unpack and move through that. Eclipses there and the South Node there as well is telling me there's lots of changes revolving around your security in partnerships. So whether it's somebody saying, I need a break, or maybe it's you taking a break from a relationship, or changes in regards to joint finances, your security is definitely feeling a little tested right now. The card that I got for you is the Ace of Swords, which is about honesty, direction, negotiations, contracts, and truth. This reminds me a lot of like planets moving through the air sign. So Mars conjunct the South Node is, I think, whether or not somebody is making you feel safe or secure, whether or not a relationship is showing up for you. This can also mean that you're having to kind of relay some cold, hard facts about what it is that you need from other people, financially, emotionally, sexually. That's all like the topics that we see in the 8th house, and getting real about whether or not partners are actually capable of providing change and letting them know your non-negotiables. So hopefully that's helpful for you, Pisces. Definitely let me know. I'm excited because I do know that this particular ingress provides the opportunity really for all of the 12 signs to be able to turn over a new leaf and have a fresh start. Yes, we're going to be feeling the pressure of getting pulled in a couple different directions, but at the end of the day, we have the opportunity to work with other people rather than against them. So I hope you guys are able to do so. I'll be back here obviously on Tuesday and Thursday throughout this next week, giving you guys my Astro Musings midweek. You guys can join me here on Friday. We're going to be doing live astrology readings at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Make sure that if you guys are not already, you are subscribed. Leave me a comment below, drop me a thumbs up. I'd appreciate it. And head over to my website if you want to book a personalized reading with me. You can catch me at beyondtheveiltarot.com. Like I said, if you guys are watching this on Sunday, I'm still teaching my webinar, but in the next week or so, I'm probably going to have it up. So if you missed it, you can purchase the replay. I'm going to talk all about the eclipses in this next month in October. We got a solar eclipse in Libra and a lunar eclipse in Taurus, both a beginning and an end in 1 month. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, make sure you sign up for my newsletter because I'm getting ready to drop all kinds of new products for you guys. I've been working really hard during the Venus retrograde. I have so many fruits of labor that I'm about to drop. We've got some lunar calendar prints that are framed that are going to be for 2024. We're also going to be having some new printed products and astrology calendars as well, and all kinds of new candles and other goodies for the fall. So make sure you sign up for my newsletter. And as always, I appreciate your guys' your support, your sweet comments. I appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to this next season. So let's see what the future holds. I'm wishing you guys a warm week ahead, and I will see you guys back here on Tuesday. Until next time, enjoy.